Welcome to the Care to Share podcast, brought to you by Oakland Care, a luxury care home provider in the southeast of England. I'm Rachel. Each episode I will be joined by guests to talk about what you need to know when moving a loved one into a care home. We will give you practical advice and also show you what life is like inside our care homes to show you the truly positive side of elderly care. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Care to Share podcast. Today we're joined by Tashai Shaw, who's Marketing Manager at Oakland Care, and also Siobhan Gurney, who's a Client Relationships Manager at our Hastings Court Care Home. Siobhan came to work at Hastings Court initially as a business administrator, and she's been at the home for 5 years now, and she's going to talk to us about what life is like at Hastings Court and tell us some stories about what goes on inside the care home and give us some information on the activities and what the residents get up to on a day-to-day. So welcome to Shai, welcome Siobhan.
Hello.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi. So Siobhan, can you start by telling us a little bit more about yourself, how you came to work in care and what you do at Hastings Court?
I came quite a roundabout journey to care actually, but I've worked in sales previously. I've also run my own business, which was a sales business retail, and done lots of admin and hospitality work as well. So I've got lots of experience there. But I moved from Horsham and came down to Hastings in 2017, and I was working near Uckfield, so I wanted to work a little bit more locally, but came across Hastings Court and it just looked like a fantastic home to, obviously come and work in. I applied for the job as business administrator and then developed on into the client relations role. So Hastings Court is really very easy to talk about in the sense that it's very busy. The activities are really varied. We have lots of different things that are really person-centred as well. So it's really very much a whole home approach from the clinical side as well as the I suppose sensory well-being side of things. It's really, really important, and all of the hospitality and activities side of what we do really encompasses the sort of the yin and the yang from the clinical to the well-being part of looking after our residents and the staff and the home, and generally we do very much come together as one big family really. And it always sounds a bit sort of trite to say that, but I actually think it's genuinely true. So, and I think when people come in and look at the home or they come in and visit, they really do get the sense of that overall sense of well-being and overall family element that we offer here. So it's I'm very lucky to be part of it, and very lucky to be able to talk about it as well.
Yeah, amazing. So this is your first job in the care industry?
It is, yes. Yeah, specifically, yeah.
So you've mentioned briefly the activities at Hastings Court, and we know working within Oakland Care about all of the amazing initiatives and activities. Can you tell us about some of the ones that might be a little bit more different that people might not expect to go on inside a care home, and how the residents and staff work and team members work together on those activities?
So it's so wide ranging. So we have everything from a comic that our lifestyle team have recently produced. This sort of took a natural progression on from our crier, the Hastings Court crier, and developed into a comic. So some of our residents feature in there. It is completely fictional, but it's just fun, and we've got some very talented team members in our lifestyles team. So say the word team again. So we've got people that are very entertainment orientated, very technical from points of view of producing the comic. So that's really fantastic. Something else that we're working on at the moment is our Banksy project. So we're going to essentially do our own very much Hastings Courty version of Banksy. So we're working with a local art group to produce that and working along with the residents. So hopefully, if it ever stops raining, we'll do that.
So that's artwork that's going on the building itself.
Yes, it'll
Yeah,
be on a placard on the building, yeah. So which is nice. So
yeah,
hopefully we can change that as well. What else? Do you know what? There's so many. Everything from having for Pride, celebrating Pride. So
yeah.
again, celebrating diversity within the home. So having drag queens in and entertainers. We have a group called the Dot Collective that are acrobats, I guess, and they're really good fun. And they come in and essentially just dangle off of a frame and do all sorts of acrobatic type things that just make me feel tired to watch. But the residents really love it.
Yeah,
I like one of the activities that you guys did where you took some of the residents actually to swimming,
Oh yes, yeah,
which uh, they really enjoyed. It was more about also the fact, I think one of the residents um, that you guys discovered when you went to swimming that they used to do swimming years ago, and now you had the whole entire pool to take a few of the residents there to do swimming regularly, and that's really kind of helped them from a well-being point of view, which I
yeah.
think is really
So
good.
it helped us because one of our staff members actually worked in a local because where we are on the seaside, we've got lots of homes and things. Lots of parks and things that
yeah,
are around. That a couple of them have pools. So the swimming pool near where she lived, so they agreed to let us take some residents there, which is really good because it again helps us build relationships in the community.
yeah,
But the swimming was really important to this resident, particularly. It helps with his weight management. It helps with his anxiety. It helps with
yeah,
his joints and movement. So from a clinical and a wellbeing perspective, but it's just nice to be able to do something different. And
Yeah.
I don't think
yeah,
people associate a care home environment with something that most people would take for granted, like being able to go to a
Mm.
pool or
yeah,
being able to go out and go do the shopping because you'd expect it to be all provided, and being able to go out and just go to Sainsbury's, for example. A couple of our residents like to do that,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
or going down to, obviously trips like I'll go to the seaside and things, but even just very everyday things that you sort of miss,
yeah,
that you
Yeah.
wouldn't think you'd miss going shopping, but you do. People feel that sometimes they're not a part of society anymore when they
yeah,
come into a care home, and we're very much not like that. We're very much about making people feel part and parcel and continuing as much as they
Mm.
want of their everyday life.
yeah. And is that very much resident led? So if that
Yeah,
resident specified they wanted to just, well, we say just go to Sainsbury's, but like you say, that's a
yeah, it is. It is. It's a very mundane thing, isn't it? But
yeah.
to be able to
If
just go
that
and
was
get a little bit of shopping.
yeah, and I guess it still gives them maybe a little bit of feelings of independence that they are
Yeah,
still doing something for themselves, even if it is supported by the home. But
it's
no,
very
that
person centered, so
Yeah.
it's very much
Yeah.
about we have a league of residents as well,
yeah,
so that every week the residents get together, and it can be a meeting with the head chef, for example, where we'll talk
okay,
about what sort of food they want and they
yeah,
contribute towards the menu, or it can be talking about some issues of the day. For example, this year has been quite a tumultuous year with the monarchy and
yeah,
the Queen
yeah,
passing away, and King Charles coming into the throne, and that's brought up a lot of different memories and things for people. So that's been really, really good things for people to talk about. We've got one resident that's 102, so we were working out how many monarchs they'd actually seen.
Mm.
yeah,
So they would have, I think, three
really,
monarchs. Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah. That's true, isn't it?
Charles, Elizabeth, and whoever was before Elizabeth. So I'll come to me in a minute. Albert, no,
No,
Albert,
Edward.
Bertie.
Was it Edward?
Bertie. It was Edward, and then it was Bertie, and then it
Okay.
was Elizabeth.
Mm.
So yeah, so obviously I'm not old enough to remember that, not quite, but yeah, it's just things like that. So celebrating the coronation
Nice.
was really
Yeah,
interesting, but
yeah.
we've also got a couple of residents that are very anti-royal. We've got
Okay.
residents that are also very politically minded and very socialist. So
Yeah.
hearing those different views as well, and letting people have a voice is really important at the League of
Yeah.
Residents.
And how often do the League of Residents get together and have those
That's
discussions?
weekly, so
How
we
is
do
it?
that every week. Yeah,
And do
and
the same?
again, that's across the board with the different needs in the home as
Yeah,
well.
Yeah.
yeah. And is it the same residents that tend to come each week?
Yeah, we have respite residents as well. So the respite residents will get invited to come and join any activities they want to come to. So I think generally there's a core, I'd say, of residents that come along, but then any respite ones come in and they sort of add to the mix, which is fun. So
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So you've mentioned there about some of the residents having different views, different, obviously, as everyone does. So do you have any nice stories about residents, or any of their residents that, obviously we don't want to mention any names, but there's lots of interesting stories and that from within the homes, and I know especially at Hastings Court. Is there any that you would like to share?
Well, one that sticks in mind is that we had one resident that just simply missed having a Chinese takeaway at the weekend.
Yeah.
So she came into the home and she was nursed in bed most of the time, so she wasn't very mobile. And a couple of the staff just said, "Oh, well, we'll get a Chinese takeaway and we'll have a pamper night," which is something again we would take for granted.
Yeah.
So although we like to do things that sort of grant wishes, if you like, or make memories for residents, it is very much about that maintenance, like you say, of independence, and that maintenance of that everyday thing. So the team actually organised a pamper night in a Chinese takeaway, and a couple of the staff came in on their day off, and they sat and had the takeaway with the resident and with another friend, and they all sat and had a girly night, and that, just little things like that.
That's amazing.
Make such a difference that you might say, get your friends round, have a glass of Prosecco and have a Chinese takeaway or whatever. It's just normal life, And,
I mean, I think also the fact that you said, where you mentioned that some of the team members weren't actually working on that day and actually came in, just really shows how much the carers care about the residents as well. I mean, they could be doing so much other different things on a perhaps Friday night or over the weekend, and I think that just kind of shows how much the carers really care about the residents, and making sure that they're enjoying their life as well, even though they're in a care home. That's so important.
Do you know, it's not just the carers, it's across all of the team. So you would think that the carers have the most one-to-one time, but we had a chap that used to work in maintenance. He was sort of an engineering manager, and he lived with us, and he thought he was on our dementia floor, but he thought he was our maintenance team's boss. So he'd say to the boys, they'd be doing things, and he'd go to them and he'd say, "Oh, well done, lads, well done, we'll go for a beer after on a Friday." And the gentleman had dementia, and he didn't realise that obviously he was in the care home. So one Friday after work, the maintenance team actually took him to the pub. We're next door to a pub. They took him to the pub to just have a beer, because it was the end of the working week, and they were like, "Right, come on, we're going for a beer." So again, it's sometimes it's the big amazing things that make a memory, but just something kind like that, on the maintenance team. We had a housekeeper that again, the housekeepers are in the residents, in with the residents all the time, and we had a housekeeper that went in to a resident, and she really liked gardening, so she brought some plants in from home, so that they could sit and do a little bit of gardening together, just in pots. And that lady was nursed in bed, so she did that for her. Another resident that we did have that actually, sadly, the lady was end of life and she passed away. So we were trying to do some bucket list things, and one of them was a tattoo. She wanted a tattoo.
Oh,
really? So the care team and the one of the, I think it was the unit manager and the deputy manager, they organised for her to have her tattoo. So they found a local tattoo artist, got the resident come in, because we have people that, again, the age range, as I mentioned, we've got residents that are 100 and in the late 90s, but we've also have residents that are in their sort of mid 60s. So it's that person-centered care is so valuable, because it isn't just that old person thing, and taking that ageism away just because somebody's 80 or 60, that everybody's sort of still young in their own minds.
Exactly.
Can I just say, wow to that resident who had the courage to get a tattoo at their age. I mean, how amazing is that?
Well, she was in her 60s. Sadly, the lady was in her 60s, so she wasn't very, very old. But
still,
to me,
What,
But
what did she have? What did she decide to have?
so she had a charm bracelet with all of her children's names, so she
that's
could have them
lovely.
with her all the time.
Right.
So the
Amazing.
tattoo artist came in and did the tattoo in the home for her, and she had the charm bracelet of her children's names on a little charm bracelet on her wrist. So that's, again, that it's much more of a common thing, isn't it, now, for people to have tattoos. So another story that came to mind was we had a resident who lives with us permanently, who'd gone into hospital. So we have a particular entertainer that comes in quite regularly, and she's part of a duo, and sometimes she comes on her own, but they're fantastic. They play all sorts of different music. Again, it's not the music that you would probably think that you would play in an old people's home. We do have a different, ages and things, but she plays lots of stuff, everything from sort of Oasis through to Elvis and all sorts. But one of our activities team actually arranged for her to go into hospital and play for him, because he'd been admitted. Right. And he missed out when she came in. So he got they arranged for the entertainer to go in to the home and play for him while he was in hospital, because he was feeling really fed up. And I just things like that, because the teams are always thinking about the resident, and it's just really lovely. All of the team, all the time, people are just constantly doing nice things for the residents and thinking about them when they're off. There's another resident who doesn't have any family, and she just has a solicitor that supports her, and one of the staff went out and actually just got her some little bits and bobs, some smellies and toiletries and things, and she just thought about it off her own back and was like, this lady needs this and this. So the staff are constantly thinking about the residents all the time. It isn't a job that you just do when you're at work. It's very much it's very much a vocation, I think.
It's really lovely to hear those stories. I was going to ask you about some staff stories as well as residents. So what's your favourite thing about working in elderly care and in the care home?
I think the residents themselves are just an absolute font of knowledge and stories, and we have such a good time, and they're so funny. And I think it brings me back to that sort of almost ageism, where we as a society tend to write people off as they get older. We tend to think that they don't have value, especially in the West. I don't think we really sort of have the same sort of respect maybe that we used to have for elderly people, but they have so much to contribute to society. They have so much knowledge, so much information. Residents with dementia might not remember everything, but they remember a lot of different things, and again, that understanding of dementia. So I think for me personally, it's made me think about my future. It's made me think about life generally, and it makes you think about your mortality. It's completely changed my perception myself of how I view the older generation, but just absolutely some of the hilarious stories that we get told and some of the fun that we have, it's no days the same. From Elvis coming into the building, we have a chap comes in that is very historical, and he comes in as different historical figures. So one time he came in as Henry VIII, the next time he comes in as a 6-foot Margaret Thatcher in full regalia with the wig on. So it's just and just getting to spend time with those residents and meet lots of different people from all different walks of life as well.
I think that doing those sorts of things also gives vitality to the residents at their age, just like knowing that when they get up, they don't know what they're going to be doing for the day, and that brings excitement. And also to the team members as well, like every day for them is not the same. This is not monotonous. They're doing different things, and again, that probably adds to them wanting to bring their best version of themselves to work, giving their best to the residents and to the roles that they're doing, and the activities that they have to do, or their daily roles or routines. That just kind of bring everything together, I think, and just they can do their best for the residents and for themselves.
It's a really fantastic place to be, you know, and we have events all the time. We have fairs and all sorts of things. The car boot sales, the team organised a car boot sale in our car park. All sorts of things that the staff will come in on their days off for and contribute to, and all sorts of events and things, and families will come and join in. So it really is a huge part of obviously the residents live here, but we're here as well, and it's a huge part of our lives as well, I think. And I think it's just generally it's a privilege really to be able to sort of work with our residents and be able to sort of listen to the stories and you know, and there's, like I said, there's a massive mix of different sorts of people and different personalities, and see their friendships grow, and just hearing all the funny stories every day.
I really like it when I come into the homes and there's like you said, there's maybe two residents that have formed like a really lovely friendship, or there's a group of ladies sitting having their tea together and they've made friends, and you know, because people, like you say, they come into the care home and you've kind of written those people off, but it's not the case at all, because people do form new friendships with residents, with the team members, and some residents do start trying new things, don't they? Like with all the activities that happen, they might do something that they've always loved, but they might try something new for the first time. And I think that's kind of a thing that people don't really think when elderly people go into care homes, that it's not always like that's it, that's the end. There are new experiences still to be had and new relationships still to be formed. So no, it's really
we had a resident recently whose family had promised her they would never put her in care, and we promised we'll never put you in care, and the lady came into care because the family were caring full time for her and they needed a bit of support and her needs had changed, and they came in and they had such a sort of awakening of what such a difference in what they thought the care was compared to what we do. And I'm not saying there isn't that sort of institutionalised care still out there, but that's not what we do. What we do is an extension of life. We try and make things as normal as we can, promote people's independence. Sometimes people need a high level of care or stimulation or just socialisation. And there's always seems to be this almost want for people that I speak to. Oh, mum's at home, she doesn't want to leave home. And it's like you're thinking about all the negatives of being in a sort of shared care environment would give you, but you're not thinking about all the negatives that being at home on your own with maybe one carer. 3 care calls a day, they're going to come in for half an hour, so that you've got somebody in your home for an hour and a half that might be a different person each time, you know. Whereas here you can close the door if you want a bit of peace and quiet and can watch the television and have your own space, or you can open the door and have people in and out, or you can go and join in, or you can make friends. We've had people that have had fantastic friendships and also relationships as well, and that's really lovely to see. So we've had several of our residents have formed sort of romantic relationships, which is lovely. And who would think that you would come into a care home and, you know, get a new girlfriend or a boyfriend or a partner, or, you know, so it's that's just joyous, you know, to see that people have that company, and I think that's what we all crave.
And it's that 24-hour reassurance, isn't it? I've spoken to lots of people about kind of that guilt that you would have putting a family member into a care home, but actually when you go in to visit them, that time that you have is 100% quality time. You don't need to worry about all the things that you would be worrying about at home. What have they eaten, like personal care, not to use the word burden, but that kind of stress that you have when you know that they haven't got 24-hour care. But when someone goes into a care home, it is all about, you know, you've got time to sit down and talk and do activities.
It changes the relationship. It changes the relationship. Lots of our residents themselves don't want to be a burden, and they feel the burden, and the families, although wouldn't, you know, think that, and that is a word that is used on both sides oftentimes, and that guilt is a huge thing. And I think that is the reticent from a lot of people about actually committing to an admission, is that I promise I won't put you into care, and them feeling guilty about having to do it. And I always have to sort of reassure people, and you're passing over your loved one to people that you don't know. So but I think they get a nice sense of us when they come in. They can sort of feel what we do and what we're about, and the general sense of the feeling of the place.
And I think, the wonderful thing about Oakland Care is, like, we talk about that we're a family, and when people come to us, we become like their family. And I think, you just explained that really well. Like, when people come into the home, family members of the resident, they feel that sense of family. They feel that sense of community. They feel that sense of homeliness, or they feel secure in that, because, as you said, they want to know that they're putting their loved one into a home, and that they will feel safe, or they'll be safe, and become a part of something that will help them to thrive and enjoy life still, even at the age that they're at now. And I think that's really important.
And it's I always say to people that it's not the end of your life. It's not the end of the road. It's just the next step. You're just moving.
Yes.
That's all you're doing. Look at it that you're just moving house, and yes, you're downsizing. You're moving into a smaller sort of. Then you have a great big 3-bedroom house, but you don't want to be looking after that, managing that. And as I mentioned, the relationship changes. So instead of, like you said, Rachel, instead of somebody having to give personal care or deal with medication, they stop being your parent. They start being somebody that you need to care for in a different way than you would expect to care for a parent or a partner. So I think we take a little bit that pressure off them, and we allow them to go back to that original relationship, and go back to that relationship that allows them to be a daughter and a parent, or a partner, or a family member. And it means they can worry about different things, and worry about the nice things, or think about the fun things. And I think we support the families a hell of a lot as well. I think that understanding that they're not alone. We have memory cafes throughout the homes as well, which are really valuable, and a lot of those are actually almost like little support groups for the families themselves. In Hastings Court, our bistro is a fantastic meeting place, and the families will come in. Yesterday, Friday even, a family member said to me, they wanted to take their loved one out, asked if they could take their loved one's friend out as well. And we were like, well, if the family are happy with that, obviously have that conversation. But isn't that nice that there's like a little group? So, can my friend come with us when we go out? So it's like, why not? So it's obviously within reason. So,
so do the families also seek support from each other? Have any of the families formed relationships yet?
They have, So, which is fantastic, because they'll use the bistro. Their families will come and visit other residents and each other, and the families visit each other. And Christmas, for example, is a wonderful time. It really is lovely, and people get together, and they'll all sit and have a drink together, and the families will sit in groups, because it's like the residents will form relationships, so the families form relationships around the residents as well. And like I say, the bistro is a real meeting place,
like a hub. It's like a hub, isn't it? Like a hub, like when everyone. I mean, I've been to all the homes, but been into where the bistros are right in the sort of at the front of the home, and you sort of go in, and as you said, there's families, there's residents, there's team members, and everyone's just, there's so much life going on, isn't there? And it's such a good communal nice to see space. That. Definitely.
It's really
I think
nice.
communal space, to me, I think if you don't know the home, it makes you feel like, is it like going to be some sort of awful room where residents are just sitting in a circle and staring at the telly? But it's not about that. It's like a big living room, or a big bar in our case, lots of sherry and wine. And that's another thing. People say, they can have a glass of wine with their dinner.
Remind me, is it Hastings Court that have their sort of Friday wine o'clock at sort of 5 or 6 o'clock?
We have happy hour.
Happy hour, so that's it.
There's often happy hour. Happy hours usually, it can be any time. It can be when the residents are having their pamper sessions, and they might have a little sherry, or after lunch they might come and have happy hour or sing along or something. It's just lovely. So it's not. That's the thing. You don't have to be. It doesn't have to be on the go all the time, but those sort of everyday normal, just nice lovely moments are punctuated by the fantastic trips out, or by the amazing activities and events and things that are happening all the time. It's so many, it's just constant. It almost feels like an everyday thing, So when people say, what sort of things do you do? We really have to, well, that's just an everyday thing for us that Elvis comes in.
And you mentioned Christmas. What are your plans for Christmas at the home? What does the home do to celebrate and to allow family members to join?
There's loads of things that happen at Christmas. So there's usually a programme of activities that start. Actually, this year we've got our big Christmas light switch on the 24th, so Friday. So we've been sort of busily prepping. We've got Christmas champions on all the floors, so each team has a champion that's their sort of Christmas elf or Christmas fairy, getting trees up, getting the decks up, making sure everything's all beautiful. There's a range of activities planned through for Christmas. We've got entertainers coming in. Like I say, the 24th is the kick-off. Wreath making. There's absolutely loads of things that are on the programme, and decorations and card writing. We've been working with a local school as well, and they've a pen pal programme with a local school, so the children are practicing their art of writing, which I guess nowadays children probably lose because they're all on screens. So they've been working with the residents, and they're writing Christmas cards across the homes, and so it's lots of things happening.
Amazing. I've just got two final questions for you. So one is just skipping back a little bit, what you were saying before about working in care and what you've kind of realised yourself and how you've changed. So what's the kind of the main thing that you've learned from working with the older generation? And you mentioned that you changed some of your thoughts, and if you could maybe just elaborate.
So I think for me it very much changed my perception of age. And as you get older, you realise that your mindset or your thoughts and feelings don't really change that much from when you're younger. So it's then realising that people that might be another 40 or 80 years older than you, and we've got people that work in the home of lots of different ages, and we've had residents in some cases that have been younger than some of the staff that have worked here, so that's been interesting, and again that does give you real sense of mortality. But I think for me, one of the valuable things is thinking about the legal side of things, so getting my will in place, I'm in the process of getting my power of attorneys in place. The legal side of it and the finance side of it is really valuable. I get lots of inquiries from people that come to me and they've never done it before, and it's probably like buying a house. Until you have to go down that road, you don't know what to do. So
that's really interesting that you say that, because our first episode, which as we're recording isn't currently out but it will be very soon, is all around wills, LPAs, power of attorney, that kind of thing. So that's actually a really interesting point that you've mentioned that, because it's not something that everybody thinks about. So
some people are really prepared, but there's lots of people that are not. And I think the emotional side of having preparation for end of life as well. So making funeral arrangements, because it's actually easier for the people that you're leaving behind to think, right, I'm going to have a funeral plan, and if anything happens to me, this is what my loved ones or children or partner can do. They don't have to think about it. I think those things are really useful and valuable as well. Because again, you're taking that pressure. The more you can do while you're able to, and while you have the ability to make those decisions, especially for our dementia residents, because next of kins or power of attorney have to make those decisions in the best interest of those residents. So if you've expressed if you've expressed your wishes, perhaps before your capacity changes, then that's really, really valuable. And also just not to sort of give up and think I'm too old to do that. That's just not a mentality that you can have here. I can do anything I want. If I want to get a tattoo, or if I want to go on a walk where I used to walk my dogs. There was a lady recently that used to go up to a local area and walk her dogs before she came in as a resident, and one of the team just took her up for a walk up there, and said, "Oh, this is where I used to walk my dog." And again, just very simple things. Just not to think that you have to see out your days sitting at home on your own with the occasional carer coming in, and that there's a whole life just because you're old, just because you're older, just because you may be less mobile, or just because your capacity changes doesn't mean that you're not still that person that wants to have your hobbies, live your life, have those relationships, and everybody deserves to have that. So yeah, living your life to the fullest, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, absolutely.
Definitely. And the final question, I think you've probably answered this anyway throughout the whole episode, but we would like to ask everyone this, but we've discussed that everyone has kind of a perception, usually negative, of a care home. And is there a myth, one in particular, that you can kind of say, this is what people think, but we can completely dispel this myth? It could be anything from the food, from
the people, when people come into the home, they're always surprised about how it looks, feels, and smells. So they're always surprised about how modern the homes are, or how our home is, which is always really important to go and come and have a look at the home. They're always surprised how our staffing levels are as well, because there's always horror stories, isn't there? There's always a focus on staffing levels. For us, we're really we've got a fantastic team, and lots of familiar links as well in our teams. It's such a good place to work that people want to bring their loved ones, they want to bring their other people to work, they want people to come and be residents. But yeah, just to come in there, I was like, wow, this isn't like anything I imagined. I think is so you've got to get in and have a look. And the fact that people I was walking around go, it doesn't smell like what I thought a care home would smell like, sort of, there's a perception of that, isn't there? That's generally unpleasant, and it doesn't look like that, doesn't smell like that. There's loads. Yeah, there's a huge sense of fear around care, and I think it doesn't help by the way that it's portrayed in the media. And don't get me wrong, there are different levels, but we're a fantastic company, we're a fantastic care home, and having been with the company for 5 years, it's obviously I'm hugely biased, but I feel that as soon as anybody asks me, and when somebody comes in and wants to ask me about the home, and literally my job is to tell them all about the home, and I can feel a fire in my belly when I talk about it.
We've seen that today, and we've heard so many, like I say, all of the things you said, I think, have helped to dispel that kind of myth about care homes. And we can hear that from what you say, so it's really amazing.
It's fantastic, it really is. Do you know what, it's changed my personal perception of what a care home is, and it's made me go, do you know what, I'm totally going into a care home when I'm older, because I'm gonna get this amazing food every day that tastes lovely. And some of our residents, especially as their needs change, one of the last things to go is sort of taste, and that enjoyment of a fantastic meal. Music and the association with that sort of thing. We've got a hairdresser here. It's like a hotel with nurses. That's what I was thinking.
I agree. And
the company Auckland Care is fantastic in that sense of providing that really luxury, but without the some places you go to that luxury and you feel intimidated. It's not like that. It's that luxury level with that homely feel. So
that accessibility. It's not like you say, too, you'd feel uncomfortable, but no. Well, thank you so much.
Fantastic.
I was going to say I won't keep you too much longer, because I know you're very.
We could talk all day, couldn't we? I honestly could. I could wax lyrical about. I could wax lyrical about how fantastic it is. For hours and hours, and I probably do when I'm showing people around. But it's fantastic.
It's first-hand experience, isn't it? You're kind of just conveying, whether to us, obviously here, to families, how wonderful Oakland is based on your experience. It's a real live experience, and I think that's what people want, something that's really tangible. They don't want it to be hearsay. They want to know you're experiencing it, you're living it, you know, and you're sharing what your residents are experiencing on a day-to-day basis.
And I've had personal. Sorry. I was just going to say I've had personal experience. My gran was in a care home quite a long time ago, and it was a very different sort of a care home. And I'd wish that she would have been able to come somewhere like this, because very different. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, if people search for Hastings Court on Facebook, they can see all of the wonderful activities that happen, videos, pictures. So if they did want to see, like you say, a real tangible, or see firsthand what goes on in the care homes, and they can have a look on our social media. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we tie it up?
Oh gosh, I don't know. How long have you got? I think, carehomes.co.uk is a really good source of information as well.
Absolutely.
We're more than happy for people to come in and just sort of soak up the atmosphere and have a cup of coffee and a cake if they want to have a chat, if they want the information. We're very open and welcoming. Definitely Facebook's a really good source of joy, if nothing else, if you just want to follow along and see the crazies. From Friday there was a talent entertainment show, if you like, you've got one person dressing up as Bart Simpson, somebody else who's doing hairdos, and all sorts of craziness. It's just
amazing.
Yeah, and it's accessible if people want it, and like I say, you get residents that don't always want that full-on experience. They want the choice, and that's what we offer. So yes, so see, I'm telling you more about it.
I was going to say, hopefully you can come back on maybe after Christmas, and you can tell us all about what's happened in the home at Christmas, and we'll definitely speak to you again, because I know you've got so much to say about what goes on in the home. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It was very fun and enjoyable.
Yeah, lovely. Take care.
See you later. Bye.
Thank you so much to Shai and Siobhan for joining us today. It was really great to hear about all of the initiatives that go on in Hastings Court and all of the activities, and to hear some lovely resident stories and how the team members get involved. If you'd like to find out more about Hastings Court, you can visit our website www.oaklandcare.com/Hastings-Court, and you can find us on Facebook. If you search for Hastings Court, you can see pictures, videos, and you can see all of the wonderful activities that happen at Hastings Court. Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Care to Share podcast. We hope you found the information in this episode useful. You can find out more about Oakland Care at www.oaklandcare.com. You can also follow the Care to Share podcast on Instagram at care2share_podcast. Please also remember to rate and review the podcast.